everyone, it's Terry from the McWanaco Community Library again, coming to you again from my backyard because it's just too wonderful, a beautiful day to stay inside. I did feel like it should be a day that we should be at a tailgate or something like that, so I did wear my Brewers shirt. Go Brewers! Hopefully we'll come to a game very soon and enjoy some hot dogs and brats. But today we're going to go through a painting video, so I'm doing an art video today. This is anywhere from ages 3 to 103 or less or more, whatever you are is perfectly acceptable. You just need a set of watercolor paints, a brush, and some paper, and some glue, and a scissors, and possibly a parent if you're really young. But it's really fun thing you can do with your kids, outside, inside, it doesn't really matter. It's very simple, designed to be something that you can do in quarantine without having to run to the store, hopefully. So, really quick peek at what we're going to do. I know you didn't see it very well, but you have to watch the video to find out what it is that we do. We do all miss you at the library. We hope you're all staying healthy, and we hope you enjoy this project. Today we're going to do a cool watercolor paper painting. We're going to turn it into something else at the end. So first of all, we're going to do the watercolor part of it because it has to dry, obviously. So I just have this happens to be an 11 by 14 sheet of mixed media paper. This is just the one that I happen to have at home. Usually, I mean, you could use watercolor paper or anything that's relatively thick that can hold some water without curling or soaking through or breaking apart. I just happen to have mixed media paper, but since we're quarantined, I can't get anything else, so we're going to use that today. Excuse me. So then we're going to take the tape, and this is just regular masking tape. You can use painter's tape or anything that you have, and it's just to help. You don't even have to tape it down, actually. You can leave it. You can leave it, you know, where you can move it. That's fine too. And you're just going to put it over the corners if you do tape it down. This is my painting board that we have for our kids, so it's very well loved already. So this is just the Crayola set. You can use any kind, it doesn't really matter. This is the brush that comes in here. We are not going to use this brush. You can if this is all you have, so it's no problem if that's all that you have. It's very small, and the bristles are not high quality, so they're going to come out on your paper, and you're going to see these little hairy pieces. So I'm actually not going to use that one, but we are going to use the paint colors. So I have different brushes here, depending on what, I mean, these are not all watercolor brushes, but these are what I have. The flat brushes, or these square top brushes, are going to be for like broad strokes if you're going all the way across. This could be for some more detail type work if you're doing zigzags, etc. And this one is just, you know, for spreading stuff around a little bit bigger than that one. So these two are round brushes, and this one here is the square. So I'm going to go ahead and use the, actually both of these. I probably won't use that one too much. So other things that I have here obviously are clean water, paper towel for rinsing off if I need to. Although with watercolor you don't really rinse out too much unless you're completely changing a section or doing kind of color blocking. I'm just going to do like a color splash. It's going to be random. It's going to be a whole bunch of different things. I'm just going to go and just, like I said, this is going to be random. I'm just going to swirl it around until I get a good amount of paint on my brush, and it's going to be completely random. So I'm just going to put the paint, if you want it to be darker, you just go back over afterwards and add more paint colors. Okay, so there's my general color splashing. Now I'm going to take a smaller brush, and in these sections I'm going to hold it with one hand, and then I'm going to tap it. I don't want all the same color. It does get messy. It does like literally get everywhere. So be sure you don't have anything nice on. I mean, granted, it's just watercolor, but it will still stain your clothing. concentrated section here. And if you don't, you can kind of see that the colors are bleeding a little bit here. If you don't want any of that and you literally just want it to be paint splatters, like full drops, you want to let your base set of colors dry before you put these on. So I might let this dry a little bit and then do some more. If you don't have a hair dryer and you have to actually just let it dry in the air, that's totally fine. It doesn't take too long, but it will dry pretty quickly. If you want to feel if it's actually dry, your paper should not feel cool. Anywhere that it feels sort of cool, like over here, it's pretty warm, like what I call room temperature. But as I get right here, it's a little cool still, which means that there's still a little color in there that's damp. Like right here, it's a little cool, and over here as well. So we're just gonna let that sit for a little bit, or I'll go back to the hair dryer, either one. So again, if you want it to be a little bit brighter, just don't use quite as much water. Hold it again. Oops, I need a little bit more. And you can kind of see that it doesn't bleed then. It's just going to sit there and dry just like that. So you're going to get more of a, like a pure splash of color there. And you don't have to do the splashing at all. You can completely skip that step. I like it. I think it looks cute. All right, and I'm going to take, I like that. That's a good amount of splashing to me. And I do like that some of it's bled here. It looks, you know, it's expanded. It looks like a completely different technique, even though it's exactly the same. All right, so everything is dried. I'm going to go ahead and put my paints away. I'm not going to add anything else. I'm going to move this stuff out of the way here. And I'm going to take my tape off. Again, you don't have to tape it down. I just did as an option. So now we're going to introduce the next tool that you will need to use. Oh, I guess you don't need to if you don't have one. But I also do scrapbooking. So this is a paper cutter. If you have a paper cutter at home, you can certainly use that, or you can use a scrapbooking one. If you don't have a paper cutter, it's no big deal. You can just go ahead and you know, measure out kind of how you want them cut, or you can just do it randomly. The problem with doing it randomly is that you want your cuts to be straight so that you can reassemble them and not have any gaps in between. So you certainly could use a ruler and just mark out, you know, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, whatever else, whatever you want. It can be completely random. But I'm going to use the paper cutter because it's way easier. So if you have one of those, I recommend that you get that. So I'm not going to use the measurements on the side. I don't want all my pieces to be the same. I'm just going to go ahead and cut some at different random lengths, or excuse me, widths. What I am going to watch though is that I don't, like right here, you see these horizontal lines here, or in your case, they'd be vertical lines. I don't want to cut directly on that. It looks a little strange. So I'm going to move up a little bit below, or cut that off completely and put that in a separate section. I don't want to do it, see this little line right here, this is the cut line. I don't want that to line up right on that purple line, so I'm going to move it up. And then you just push down and slice it. It doesn't matter what order they're in when you go ahead and cut them. You just want to make sure that it's straight. So I line it up, I push it down against the bottom edge here because this paper is already straight, as is my actual cutter itself. So I'm going to use that to hold it all in place. So that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to keep going across. Some are going to be thick, some are going to be small. I also have my printout of what I'm going to turn all of these strips into. Don't worry, it's easier than it looks. So this is what you can print out, whatever you want. If you want it to be a silhouette of a face, somebody that you know or don't know, you want it to be your favorite rock band logo, you want it to be eggs or anything like that, flowers, whatever it is that you want to turn them into, you certainly can do that. I just chose a bunny. So this is the side that I'm actually going to cut out. So I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to glue everything to the white side here. And I'm not going to look at where it lines up here. I'm just going to go ahead and start gluing the things on however I want. The reason that I was moving it around like that is because I can actually see the bunny silhouette through the the thing, and his foot is like down here, but I really like this splashy part, and I don't want to completely cut it off. So you can move your pieces left to right however you want them to line up. I'm going to need one more down here, so I'm just going to use some random one that's not like my super favorite, because it's going to get mostly cut off. Like this one here is just mostly yellow. I'll put that one down there. But I'm going to use this end because I like this end a little bit better. If you're wondering why I'm lifting it up, it's because I have a light over here, and I can actually see where the bunny outline is by letting just a little bit of light in there. If you have any kind of a light box, you certainly could just put it right on there and work that way as well. And if you see here, let's say I like this entire strip, but I know that I'm only going to use maybe this much of it. You can take a scissors and you can actually cut, like this strip off. Like that, and you can stack it up here, and you could use this red side or whatever else. So if you don't have to completely waste all of these, you can cut them off and use them for another project. If you have one, like let's say I like this dark teal or something like that, I can put that, just cut them off and use the smaller strips too. I always try to find the most interesting sections. Like some of them I want to be a little bit more plain, a little bit more boring, so you don't have to have everything be wild and crazy. But like this is my last one. I want it to catch something good at the top there. So you can see I kind of use more of the interesting sections where the actual bunny is. This little splash over here kind of looks like he has a wound, but whatever else. So we'll let that dry for just a minute, and then we'll come back and do the cutting. Alright, so our final step is to go ahead and cut. I'm going to put away my glue. I forgot to do that before. I'm just going to save, and you can save these for something else if you want to do another project. Or if you have some smaller eggs or something like that you want to make, you can keep those. Easter cards. Grandparents love Easter cards from their grandkids. Just saying. So all this stuff, you don't have to worry about cutting it off now. It will be able to be saved for later, so like that. So we're going to go ahead and flip over the paper. And you see how I have my bunny silhouette here? I'm actually going to leave these little whiskers on there, so I'm going to try and cut it with that on there, and I'm just going to go right around the outside. So the easiest way to cut the whisker section is not to zigzag back and forth, but rather to cut way out here, go around from point to point to point, all the way to the very tip end, and then the last one, you come back. I'm going to make them just a little bit fatter than what's on the picture, and then I'm going to go to the top and cut this little piece off, and then I'll come back to the whiskers and show you how I do that. So the same thing with the whiskers on this side. I'm going to come right to the top of the whisker here, make it a little bit fatter than it is on the picture, and cut that off. Get all that stuff out of your way. And then go around the edge from the end of the whiskers all the way across. Don't worry about that, we'll get that later. I'm going to come back in. So this is the general outline of the bunny. So I'm going to go back and do the whiskers. And I'm going to, it's easiest, instead of putting your scissors in here and then trying to crank it around and try and get it that way, because you're not going to get a good cut, you always come from the outside and go back to the head, pull the little triangle out. So these are just going to be little slip marks. I'm going to come back and cut the little pieces off in just a second. So I'm going to make them a little bit wider than what it is because they're just a little skinny. And then what I do is I pull this part down, kind of pull these little pieces that I'm cutting off, pull them in like this. Or you can pull them back either way, and then you cut them from the other side. So I'll fold them back this time so you can see. Come on. So see how I pulled them back? Now I go through, snip them right off. There you go. And then I'm going to take an X-Acto knife and I'm going to cut out just this little section, or a craft knife, and just cut out that little section there. Okay, so I have my supplies to cut that out. So this is just a little teeny mini self-healing mat, and then my craft knife. You can do whatever. If you don't have that, you can just cut on something you don't care, like a piece of cardboard or something to that effect. Lift it right out. And there we have our adorable little bunny, ready for an Easter display.